Alright guys, today we're going to take a look at two things. I got both of these off of Banggood. Took 3 weeks to have them mailed to me. The first one is this 81-piece stainless steel lockpick set. A little bit of everything inside. A pretty hefty kit. We're going to bust it open in just a minute and see what kind of stuff they got in here. The second thing we're going to take a look at is this interesting little gadget. Black, shiny, looks like a ray gun from Star Trek. They call this the advanced plug spinner. I don't know how advanced it is, but man, it does look cool. Anyway, let's go ahead and hop to this kit, take it apart, and see what they put inside of here for us. Alright guys, I decided to leave most of these picks inside the case because after I got them sorted, I discovered there's actually 3 different varieties of picks in here. And looking at them in the case is going to be a little bit easier. In the center, of course, our handles. We'll get all that in a minute. But this empty section right here is where all the tensioners were. A total of 10 tensioners. I mean, they were jam-packed in there. Plus, there were a bunch of them were laying loose. So made it difficult to review in the case. So I got them spread out here. Let's take a look at them. A lot of traditional stuff you guys have seen before. You get the L style, one with a twist, one without. You get a medium and a thin thickness, and these are probably made from stainless steel windshield wiper inserts. This style in the middle, also bottom of the keyway, 3 different widths, 3 different thicknesses, and these are pretty unique. We have one end that's smashed flat, what I call horizontally, and the other end is smashed flat vertically. So if you're working with a lock, and maybe not the perfect angle, take the vertical end, you slide it in there, you can pick it at that angle. And if you don't like that, you can slide them in this way. Trying to do this through the camera, and you can tension from that angle. So pretty flexible tool. I really do like these. These are also called Z-wrenches. These are for Dimple locks, which might lead you to believe there are Dimple picks. And yeah, well, there actually are. We also have top of the keyway. You don't see these very often. And these are pretty good copies of the Peterson pry bars. Notice we have laser cut serrations there. They're not as deep as the Peterson, but they're there on both ends. Really nice to be able to get these. One is 40 thousandths, so that'd be the pry bar light, and then one is 50 thousandths, so that'd be the traditional pry bar. On the top here, we have a tensioner for shutter locks. So if you're a fan of picking car locks, which might lead you to believe there might be some car picks in there, this is an excellent tool. Super strong tension. When you shove this in there, those little serrations can get caught on the edges at different depths to hold those shutters out of your way while you're reaching there with your car pick and rake it or SPP it. 2 different widths on each end of this. And this last pick, I don't want to say this is controversial, but some people love this and some people hate it. And there's not a whole lot of people in the middle. When you are learning how to tension, one of the hardest things is trying to figure out very light tension. Now notice there's this coil spring in the middle. This is called the feather touch tensioner. A little rubber thing on the end. There's 2 ways to deal with this. First, you can hang it in the lock like this, and you can allow that weighted rubber end to act as your tensioner. Now obviously this only works on dead cores, in other words cores that don't have a spring tensioning them. It wouldn't work too good on that, but for dead cores, this is a great tool. The other way you can do it is hang it in the top of the keyway, and you can actually reach up there and tension it with your finger, and that coil will reduce a lot of the tension that you're trying to apply. Makes it easy to learn how to do very, very light tensioning. I'm not a fan of it, but then again, I'm not learning how to maintain light tension anymore. All right, guys, those are all the tensioners. Let's go ahead and do a quick break and move over to the kit itself. All right, guys, we're going to start right here in the center of the case where 5 handles. These are anodized aluminum, very, very nicely done. They fit. I've been using these for about a week. They do fit in your hand very nicely. You can see there's a little collet on the end where you loosen it up, slide your pick in there. We'll do that in a minute, and then tighten it down. Well, before we look at the picks, though, I'm always skeptical when somebody tells me stainless steel, because a lot of it really isn't stainless steel. And the way I test it is I put it into a really strong mixture of copper sulfate and I let it sit overnight. If there's any free carbon inside of the steel, the copper sulfate will bind with it and form a crust. It reacts with it chemically, and it looks like rust. It just scabs over. So the other thing you notice is it is slightly magnetic, which most stainless steel is not, but some of it is. So just because it's slightly magnetic doesn't mean that it's not stainless steel. When you look closely, let me wipe that off. Nothing on my fingers, no corrosion. You can see I roughed it up with some sandpaper just in case it had any kind of finish or chroming on it. It didn't, but I wanted to give the copper sulfate a good access to the bare steel. You see no reaction at all. So it tells me it is some kind of stainless steel. I don't think it's 301 stainless steel simply because of the magnetic properties, but stainless steel is stainless steel. So it's not false advertising. All right, let's just take this guy. Loosen up your collet, just slide them in there and tighten it up. Now what I would do, I've learned this in a week, before you tighten it all the way, shove the pick all the way to the top and then torque it down. By doing that, you're not going to have any flopping around inside of that collet at all. It's going to be very, very stiff, very nice for you to hold on to. What I would do if this were my kit, I probably would pick out my 5 favorite picks, leave them installed all the time, and just put them in. I work mostly with pin tumbler and wafer locks, so those are probably the picks that I would leave loaded up in my 5 handles. All right, speaking of pin tumblers and wafer locks, it isn't in the description, but when I sorted all of these and measured everything, there were 3 categories of picks. The first were the pin tumblers and the wafers, and then of course we have dimples and then dedicated car locks, which we'll get to in just a moment. There were also different lengths and thicknesses, again, not in the description, but these 7 picks along the top here are 23 thousandths of an inch thick, all stainless steel, and they're a little bit shorter in length, leading me to believe that these are for smaller keyways. All of the other flaps here, these other 4, are 27 thousandths of an inch thick and just a little bit longer for larger and deeper keyways. You notice we got a good mixture of hooks. We got a half diamond. I'm not going to go over all these because there are 81 pieces, but you know, snake rake, our S rake, we got the W's, we got a couple different styles of W's, we got plenty of hooks, plenty of rakes, good assortment of stuff that we know. And then there's a lot of stuff here that I don't even know how to begin to name this. I mean, that one we've seen before. I think we called it a ripple. That one right there, I don't know. I'm going to have to call him the half moon rake. Because I don't think he has a name. This guy here, let's call him the knotted rope rake. This guy is the triple barbell. I'm going to call this one the boomerang. This one is going to be the triple party peak, and that one is going to be the double party peak. So they've got some weird stuff, but you know, the locks, they don't care. All they know is you're going to stick a rake of some kind. So every chance that any or all of these could work on any lock. So there you go, your pin tumbler locks. All right, let's go ahead and go over and take a look and see what we got on dimple rakes. All right, guys, the description did not tell us that we're going to be getting any dimple picks, and it certainly didn't tell us we're going to be getting any specialized Caba picks, but we ended up getting both of these. All these picks came in a plastic bag, and it was a great surprise to find this wide of a selection in a single kit. Let's take a quick look here. These all on the top here are typical dimple lock picks. You get variations in number of humps. You got a double. They're spaced differently on some of them. You have wider frequency and deeper depth on some of them, and then shorter frequency over here. So really great. These are all 31 thousandths thick stainless steel. They are wide though, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. The real surprise was finding these. These are dedicated dimple locks for Caba brand locks. They typically have smaller pins and they're located everywhere, top of the keyway, bottom of the keyway, as well as both sides. Sometimes on each side they have multiple layers, I mean, highs and lows. So Caba locks are really particular, and consequently the pins are much, much smaller. And that's what you see here. These are really small little dimples on some of these picks. Again, 31 thousandths of an inch thick, but they're awful wide. So if this were my kit, and this is a great selection, I would probably modify these to make them thinner. And I've done that. I'll show you my pick. I think it's this one. This is one of mine that I've been using for years. It used to look like this one, but I sanded it down. So now it fits into a wider variety of keyways. So I use that for standard dimples. And in the case of, I think it's this guy, for my Cabas, because again, Cabas have multiple layers of pins, this was the original on the left, and by the time I got through sanding it down or grinding it down on the grinder, it's the exact same pick, just a lot narrower to give me a little bit more flexibility to get into those keyways. So all of these picks would be thinned down to something like that. Great selection if you've had trouble making Dimple picks, which I think we all have because it's really difficult and they tend to break. I've never seen a collection quite this large in a single kit before. All right, guys, we got a really good collection of car lock picks. Now, I'm not a car lock guy, but this is all the car locks I think I've ever seen all in one kit. The way I've got this sorted, by the way, these are all 31 thousandths of an inch thick, so a little thicker than the pin tumbler locks, and they're also a little bit longer because they got to reach past the shutter lock, the shutter protective door, and reach a little bit deeper inside of there. I've got it sorted with all the hooks on the top, from a very shallow hook to a very deep hook. On the second row here, I have a lot of double-sided rakes. These look a lot like the rakes that you'd find for wafer locks. And in fact, most car locks are double-sided wafer locks, kind of like this guy. So take him, slide him in there. It's hollowed in the center, so you're going to have that spring-loaded action. So when you slide it in and out, it's going to hopefully help you set those wafers. If that one doesn't work, the slightly offset one, you've got several different combinations here. Offset, triple offset, double offset, a single on one side and a triple on the other. Just no matter how the lock is bitted, there's probably one of these you're going to be able to rake it open with. Along the bottom here, if you like picking door locks one side at a time, you've also got that option. If you don't want to go to hooks, you can rake them. Again, we have a double, we have a single, we have a little bit different frequency here. We've got one that looks kind of like a saw blade. I'm probably going to use that later to saw up some firewood. And then a triple. So all kinds of options here to get into all different kinds of cars and different wafer locks. So there you go, guys. What do I think of this kit? Well, there's a lot in here. Most of this was not in the description in Banggood when I went to buy it. I thought I was getting nothing but pin tumbler picks. And in fact, you can see I got not only that, but I got a really nice collection of tensioners to include some top of the keyway. You don't often get those. And the rare feather. So pretty cool. I get 5 handles. And the thing I really like about these aluminum handles, they're very nicely done. And not only can I fit these picks into it, but the collet will allow me to put in my homemade picks that I made from windshield wiper inserts. So give me a lot of options there. The other thing that I really like is on this flap right here. I have never seen this large of a collection of Dimple lock picks in one place. I've never seen this many Cabell lock picks in one place, all included in this kit. For me, at least, this almost makes it worth the entire purchase price, particularly when you take away the 15%. I'll put that discount code down inside of the description. Anyway, there you go, guys. The 81-piece stainless steel lockpick kit. If you're going to be attacking, you don't know what you're going to be attacking, the tools are in here to do that with. All right, guys, this is the advanced plug spinning ray gun. This thing does look cool. On black enamel finish. It's all steel except this knob. This knob is made, I believe, from aluminum. It's non-magnetic. It is definitely not plastic, though. Very heavy construction, very durable. Inside of there is a very strong spring. And the mechanism in this is super simple. There's really not a lot to break in this thing. You pull the trigger to cock it. You pull the trigger, and then you can either turn it from here, from the front, or you can obviously use that knob on the back. Let me push this spring back a little bit. Now you can see what's happening. When I pull that trigger, you see the knob retracting. It's actually engaging in a bunch of holes that are in that knob. So you basically figure out which way you want to go. You pull the trigger, and then you turn the knob, and then you let go of the trigger, and it locks them in place. And then when you pull the trigger, of course, that spring spins back to the original position. The front is very quick release. Now let's take a look. You get 4 different tips, and they're, I said quick release, but these are basically plug and play tips. You get 4 different sizes. Let's see, you get a small one with a taper, you get a medium one, you get a thick one, and then another fairly thick one. These are easily replaced literally in seconds because inside of the front is a magnet. So you basically figure out which tip you need, and then you slide them in there, and the magnet takes over. Not going to be falling out of there. Very neat. Very easy to, if you got the wrong one, it's very easy to pull him out and put the next one in there. That's how quick it is. What I don't like about it, there is a little play in it, but because this is rotating axially, it doesn't really matter. You're up inside of the lock. There's no way for this to go, so it's not really going to be falling out of there. It works perfectly regardless of any play that happens to be in that tip. Let me go ahead and pick a lock and let's see if this thing works. All right, guys, I'm going to show you one of my favorite tricks with a spinner. A lot of times locks pick easier in one direction than another. And this American, for some reason, doesn't want to pick in the clockwise, but he picks super easy counterclockwise. So let's take advantage of that. It is locked, so let's see if we can spin it and get an open on this guy. All right, I'm going to take my spinner and I'm just going to squeeze the trigger, rotate it counterclockwise a little bit, and then simply line up. I may turn this 90 degrees, get them oriented so it's a little easier for you to see and for me to work with. Slide them into the keyway, squeeze the trigger. And how easy was that? Spinners give you options, guys. All right, guys, that pretty well wraps it up. The 81-piece stainless steel pick set from Banggood. With the 15% off, it comes out about $60 even. I think at that price, there's something in here for everybody. Pretty cool kit. The other thing, and I think the true bargain, is this one, the advanced plug spinner. Heavy duty, durable, easy to use, and at $14.44. Who comes up with these crazy prices? I think it's worth every penny. This thing will probably last you a lifetime. Appreciate your time, guys. Stay safe, stay legal. If you want to win all of this stuff, right there's the website. Middle of the page, big purple button. Click it, and hopefully your name is going to be drawn to win all of this stuff next weekend. Thanks, guys.